This week, we mark the one-year anniversary of the state's most expensive tornado outbreak ever. Now, much of the cost was created by an EF3 tornado that slashed North Dallas. Just the losses that were insured are estimated at $2 billion. To date, $1.2 billion in claims has been paid. That storm system is the most costly weather event in Texas history that wasn't a hurricane or a tropical storm. And North Texas hailstorms and tornado outbreaks now account for half of the top 10 most expensive weather events ever in this state, which explains why your homeowners or renters insurance premiums have been rising. Because even before that, Texas had some of the highest insurance costs in the country. We are third on this list. What we pay is well above the national average. And just last year, insurers asked for thousands more rate changes, and not one of those requests was rejected by the state. Of course, insurance companies have to be able to make money, otherwise they wouldn't be able to do business here. How much money are they making, though, from homeowners and renters? These are the 25 biggest companies responsible for most policies here, and while some of them lost money in 2019, overall, the big providers made a big profit in Texas, almost $285 million. As always, I've got more info with today's article at WheelerTV, your home that requires no insurance to stay right on the money.